second chances here. We're going to shoot to kill, which is totally wrong. Totally. But I still stand on the premise of why give them a reason? And I know, Rick, you said earlier, you walking while black, anything you could raise your hand, they'd be ready to shoot you. But if the officer came up to you and say, put your hands up, do it. Just do what you need to do to stay alive. Why did they flee? And I can't get past that. If you never fled away and 64 police cars chasing you, that's ridiculous.
Set it off.
And I know this is kind of like not exactly the same thing, but even yesterday, like me and some of my friends were hanging out and like a police car was telling us like, don't hang out around here. And they were ready to take off running, and it's like, why are you running if you didn't do anything?
Thank you. That's my point.
I'm like, don't do that, because first of all, you look guilty. Secondly, I'm not doing anything, and y'all gonna make me look guilty, and that's a problem. Now, if they had got out the car, then y'all would have been mad, especially if they tried to, well, what are you doing? And then that's how situations like this happen. If you don't give them a reason, like you said, then they can't do anything. And if they do, if you don't give them a reason, and there are people around, if they're not scared, then they can say, oh, well, this person didn't do anything. Because the officers in the situation don't even want to testify. And it's like, why not testify if you're innocent? If you look guilty, you look suspicious.
It's called the blue shield. They're not going to go past the blue shield. But, again, I understand all of that. I'm a preacher, and I think like some people are like, why would a preacher be talking about that? You don't know about Jesus, because Jesus stood against what is considered an unrighteous situation. This is not a black issue to me. This is a human issue.
That's right.
And I understand people running, looking guilty, but guilty does not mean death. I mean, the law says that you're innocent until proven guilty. But how can you be guilty to kill before you have a chance to prove that what you did, even though it's wrong and stupid, and we've all done wrong and stupid things sometimes, but it doesn't mean that because I do that, I'm warranted to be shot at to kill me. I mean, you can't tell me that because they ran, you need to shoot me 3 times in the head.
I think that it's such a war now. It's like us and them. I want to read to you an email that I received.
Yeah.
And it is from a law enforcement person, okay? So basically he's saying most of this violence from police is not new. They are not trained or they are not trained on active communication where cooperation is negotiated without the threat of force. Street police have assumed the other person has a weapon and the risk of violence is far greater with each encounter. Police are in a OODA, which means observe, orient, decide, and act loop of all time. Only the best can de-escalate the situation on a regular basis. With guns everywhere, street police almost have no choice until further gun control is in place. We will continue to see this violence in one form or another. The political side of the world is the same as freedom fighters versus terrorists. This view is based on what side you are on. Those that fight with the foundation of religion on their sides will fight to the death in the fundamental belief that their way of life is the right way of life. If you view this from the other side, you would consider those people terrorists, plain and simple. They are as strong in their beliefs as we are in ours. From their views, it's about freedom. From ours, they are crazy.
Yeah, well, and I don't necessarily disagree with, what he's saying, but my thing still is, then it's the fault of the city and it's the fault of the state that we're not providing enough training for these officers. Mm-hmm. Now, I commend police officers. I give them the utmost respect for what they're doing. Have to deal with the situation, make a rash decision in a matter of seconds, but you can't just all of a sudden have that word fearing for my life as the ultimate way of getting out of something. It's almost to a point that you don't, I'm a man. I have never held a gun in my life. When I was a young kid, I didn't like guns. It was just, I wasn't a cowboy and Indian kind of guy. I like sports. I've never held a gun. But to this, even now, I'm more afraid now than I was as a teenager that if a police officer comes says something to me and he doesn't like my response, that he could shoot me thinking he saw a gun, say he feared for his life, and he can get off. And I haven't done anything at all. So that means they have such of an upper hand to do wrong, and they're supposed to be the righteous of the law, not the ones that you got to be worried about. Yes, these men out here that are shooting and killing senselessly, it's ridiculous. We're not condoning that, but you can't, as my mama used to always say, when somebody hits you and you say, I hit him back, and mama say, 2 wrongs don't make a right, baby. 2 wrongs don't make a right. You cannot sit there and say, because I feared for my life, I took one. You've got to be able to look at the situation, and if you're worried about it, step away from it. You don't have to sit there and shoot to kill. We've seen many situations where the young man was running from the police. He shot him, came over the young man, and shot him again 2 times. I'm like, come on. I mean, it's getting to a point where I need to find out who's going to be the next Martin Luther King. Who's going to sing? Who's going to be the next Marvin Gaye that's going to sing a song about, stopping the violence? Who's going to be the next person that's going to speak out and rap about, we need to stop violence. We need to stop violence within ourselves. We need to stop violence with the police. These people have the law on their sides, but just because you have the law on your side doesn't mean you got to be a lawbreaker. And in a lot of situations we've seen, these policemen are causing a lot of issues. What is up with you all over here?
We try to play double dutch and jump in.
Well, all y'all got to do is say something.
I don't like cutting people off. I was just trying to wait till he was done.
Go ahead.
But what I was going to say was going back to his comment about how a cop can shoot a guy while they're running and then stand over him and shoot him again. I was actually talking to one of my friends earlier today, and he's a criminal justice law enforcement.
Say he's a criminal.
No, major. And he learned that in one of his classes, after they shoot their first shot, they can shoot as many times as they want. So if they shoot them and empty out their clip, he said they can practically reload their clip and keep shooting if they want to.
Why is that?
I have no idea. I'll tell him.
I have to really
research
that.
We got to really research that. If there's somebody listening that knows the answer to that, give us a call at 312-754-4333. But I mean, that is something that's crazy, though.
Another thing that's crazy, and I've seen actual video footage. I mean, for real life, and I watched 2 officers, I want to say, gun someone down. They were trying to get into a place, and they did not want the person to come into the building, and they shot them. Now, we're watching the video of it, so you can't hear anything that was said or anything like that, but it doesn't really matter what was said because I'm watching you say no, say no, you can't come in this building. The next thing I know, you're shooting someone down, just shooting them down. And it was crazy just to watch this because it was like 2 officers, which they also could have called for help, and this one person.
Right. And the thing about it is that, again, I say, can you shoot the person in the leg? Can you shoot them in the arm?
But remember the times you are living in. Those days are over, and I hate to be redundant. I cannot stand every summer we go through what program, guns down, hands up, so whatever we go through, we have to have something every year. We need to just stop. It used to be shoot to man, shoot in the shoulder to bring them down, shoot in the leg to trip them down. Now they're going for the torso. That used to be the last thing they did. The head, the torso, everything, just to kill them.
Even I'm not that old, but even when I was in high school, I remember
Thank
this
you for
incident.
that, by the way.
Because I don't want to say when I was younger. It was
Yesterday.
4 years ago. But I had this incident where something happened after school, and the cops are always there when school gets dismissed. But they were actually hitting students with the nightclubs, and I thought that was ridiculous. So the fact that it went from something as simple as them just doing stuff like that or aggressively pinning them down or holding them up. It was people who would walk with us to the bus stop for the simple fact that if they weren't with a group of girls, the police were going to stop them and probably do something. And I think that's a problem. I think that the fact that when the police pull somebody over, it takes 3 cars to do it is a problem. That would intimidate me alone. A car got pulled over yesterday and 3 cars were there. Why?
They have to have their backup.
Why?
Just
What am I going to do? It's
Right.
one of me and probably two of you in one car.
That's the other thing.
3 cars means it's at least 6 of you. Why?
But you know what? The case that we're talking about with the Michael Brelo, the officer who was acquitted for this, which we know we don't want him to be acquitted. But the thing that I was reading about the 2 people that was murdered, massacred, shot down, killed like animals on the street. They say that they were on drugs. They say that he was bipolar. They say that they had mental illnesses. Okay, from a cop's point of view, they don't know that. After the deceased, the murder happened, of course, the family members said, well, why did they do that? Because they were sick and the cops didn't know that. See, like I said, this is a slippery slope on both sides. Even though wrong is wrong, they didn't have to be gunned down like animals. And to use, no, we could honestly say he didn't even use the fear factor. That cop denies standing on top of that Malibu. He said, I didn't do that. They have footage of you on top of the Malibu, on top of the hood, shooting rounds into these 2 people, which you said they were probably dead already. But yet you got off
And if they
when
were
they have
already
proof.
dead, had the car backfired, who would have started the car?
Yeah, and you know, I think you said that they had footprints as well, right?
Right,
Of the
footprints that matches his boots. But yet
On
he
the Malibu.
still said that wasn't me. White officer got off, acquitted.
You know, and we also was talking about the fact that they said that, you know, that his shots were shot post-mortem, which means the people were actually dead. Now, the writing that I said, the judge determined that most of his shots were shot post-mortem, post-mortem, I'm sorry, and meaning that the victims were already shot after he was shot after they were dead. So this man shot them after they were dead. Now, I can understand the fact that maybe he didn't know that they were dead.
I can understand that.
Okay, you shot one time, you shot 2 times,
move.
and they didn't move.
Right.
You shoot 30-some more times. And I mean, you know,
30-some
now there was altogether, I think it was 100, but he shot about in the car like about 30-some odd times. You should
Rick,
know.
Aren't we missing a big point here? He feared for his life, he stated. If you fear for your life, why are you on top of a Malibu in the windshield? You fearing for your life. If you don't know they didn't have a gun in there, but if you fear for your life, you wouldn't be on top of the Malibu. And his reason was because of his military training taught him you have to be elevated. Now, if you're looking down inside the Malibu and these people not moving and you still blowing them away,
Right. Hey,
that stuff don't add up.
I've got a Facebook comment. It says, no shooting in the leg and arms is a TV thing. You shoot center mass in the chest. If you happen to hit the leg or arm, well, what is so frightening? I mean, if you happen to hit the leg or arm, what is so frightening is the fact that they are shooting first and asking questions later, and getting away with it because of the background of the people.
Yeah,
Right. And you know, and that's something we got to talk about as well. That there's a background, but here's again, it might be a television thing. Well, doesn't life imitate art? Well, then let's start shooting them in. If you're just trying to stop somebody, then you can stop them by shooting them in the leg.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we've got to go to commercial break right now. We want you to come back and listen to current situations with the Let's Stay Together show. Listen to these breaks and we'll be right back.
Good evening. This is Reverend Rick McCain with something you should know. Are you struggling with the decision of life? Wondering why you are here and what you are meant to do? Do you go to work each day saddened that you are not doing what you envisioned your life to be? And is your day-to-day life killing you softly? Have you looked over your life and noticed that things aren't going as planned? Or are you worried that your life will never amount to anything? If this is you, then there's something you should know.